Uh, you should have just finished working on the beginning of this chart with me in class. We took a look at leadership, generals, strategy, and intangibles. It's now your job to listen to this video and see if you can fill in the rest of the details on the North versus the South going into the Civil War. I'm just going to click on where we've been real quickly and leave it up there. If you didn't get this info, you should pause this video and write down the info on leadership generals, the strategies of both sides, the North and the South during the war, and the intangibles, the hard to measure things that we often sometimes overlook when we look at situations like a civil war. All right, the things you need to know about for our contest that's about to begin in class are the names, other names that both sides were called, and you should jot down the Union for the North is most often referred to the United States, USA, and the Confederacy is the South. The Confederate States of America is the official name they chose, CSA being their initials. Both sides have flags at the time. The Stars and Stripes is the Union flag. You can see that hanging in our room. It's off to the left. Abraham Lincoln did not take any stars off representing the southern states because he argued throughout this war that the South was still part of the United States. Stars and Bars is the flag to the right. It is the southern flag, most known as the flag of the Confederacy. And you'll see 13 stars on that flag. 11 stars for each of the states that do secede, and 2 stars for 2 states that they hoped would secede, Kentucky and Missouri. Number of states is the next category. In total, the North will have 23 states. A 24th state will be added when West Virginia decides to join the North halfway through the war. The South has a total of 11 states in all that join the Confederacy. Population, North, 22 million. South, around 12 million, of which 3.5 million were slaves. So you're really talking in the 9 to 9.5 million people living in the southern states. All right, some categories here. Industrial development, which is going to be important for making weapons and uniforms and really everything that would be involved in fighting a war. 92% of the North of the factories are located in the northern states, which really leaves the South in a bind. They are mostly based on agriculture and farming, and that is going to play a significant factor for the North's success. Railroads, also an advantage to the North. 75% of our country's railroads lie in northern states. The South is not well connected by rail. Part of that is because of the extensive river system they had in the South that really was pretty good for shipping, and they neglected to build railroads connecting those southern states. Finances, money, 75% of the North, 75% of the nation's wealth did lie in the North. And for the South, land and much of their wealth was held by those large plantation owners who also owned slaves. Capitals. We know about the North's capital. Washington, D.C. has been since George Washington picked it out and will remain our capital. The South will pick a capital. At first, it's Montgomery, Alabama, and they later move it north to Richmond, Virginia. In terms of Navy, the South has virtually no Navy to start the war. They will work on it, but in the beginning, they have no Navy, and of course the North has a fairly large and extensive Navy, which can be used for shipping goods, trading with other countries, shipping troops, and also could be used to blockade your enemy. Cause for fighting. Yeah, there's no doubt the beginning of this war, it started because of secession. To keep the Union together is why the North will fight to preserve the Union. It does become a war of emancipation later when we do decide to make slavery an issue. But it begins as a war to preserve the Union. For the South, gaining independence is your number one reason for wanting to break away. You do not want to be part of the North anymore, and you want to be your own country. Names for troops, there are lots of names that both sides call each other. In the North, the most common are Federals, Yanks, Billy, Yanks, and Yankee. And in the South, Rebs, Rebels, Graybacks, Confederates. Your uniforms, for the most part, were a kind of Ugly Squash Brown, so Butternuts became a name, and Johnny's.